You've been inundated with way too early top 25s. This is the only slightly less than way too early top 25, or more officially, we will call this the pre-spring practice too early top 25. Welcome to the voice of college football. Let's run them down, the top 25 that actually makes sense, or to be honest, it doesn't make any sense because nobody's played any games and this is all speculation. Keep in mind that look at the AP poll, look at the coaches poll preseason last year, and this was just prior to the season kicking off. They could not get half of the top 25 teams placed correctly by season's end. So understand this is very unpredictable, and this is speculation and projection based on what happened last season, based on key additions through the transfer portal and through the 2023 class. Let's go to the top 25. But first, we will note that South Carolina, UCLA, let's throw in Maryland, and how about a wild card in Oklahoma? Don't look past Brent Venables in a second season, improving Oklahoma substantially. Now to the top 25. That doesn't make any sense. Let's go. Texas Tech at number 25. What a job Joey McGuire did in season number 1. He was an associate head coach at Baylor, linebacker coach, under the radar selection, and he defeated Oklahoma and Texas the first time that's happened with the Red Raiders. 9 offensive starters back, including Tyler Shook at quarterback, wide receivers Dre McCray, and center Rusty Stotts. Key additions through the transfer portal. The Red Raiders, of course, finished off 2022 with a impressive blowout of Ole Miss in the Texas Bowl. TCU fans, this time last season, you would have been ecstatic with the number 24 preseason ranking. 5-7, Sonny Dykes, unproven in the Power 5, goes all the way to a national championship game, blasted by Georgia. Of course, it didn't end in a pretty fashion, but before that, Cinderella ride. Well, TCU loses the triplets on offense, quarterback, wide receiver, and running back. Chandler Morris is most likely the new starting quarterback. Bama, LSU were good transfer portal acquisition spots for TCU. The Horned Frogs start our preseason at number 24. On to number 23, and new head coach Luke Fickell, new quarterback, Wisconsin. Let's go. Phil Longo comes in to run the offense from North Carolina. Expect more passing, more spread, more tempo out of Wisconsin this season. Yes, Wisconsin tempo. Graham Mertz has gone to Florida. This quarterback battle is between Nick Evers and Tanner Mordecai. Wisconsin's our number 23 team. Look out for the Badgers in future seasons. May take Fickell some time, but we're expecting Luke Fickell to make a splash early for Wisconsin. As we go to number 22, let's keep in mind that I do not consider any of the group of 5 teams to be among the 25 best in the nation. Going into 2023, this team certainly proved to be one of the roughly 10 best in the country after wins against Kansas State and, of course, USC in the Cotton Bowl, and dusting off the American Conference with strong wins against the likes of the best teams in the American Conference. But projected toward 23, probably not one of the top 25, but I wanted to go with at least one G5, and this would be the team. Tulane, from 2-10 to 12-2. Remarkable. The Green Wave, of course, have Willie Fritz back as head coach. He was on the hot seat. Now he's sought by jobs like Georgia Tech, but he turned them down. Quarterback Michael Pratt is back. Lose most of the weapons and their 4 top tacklers on defense, though. So Tulane in a rough spot starting 2023. In addition, a visit from Ole Miss to start out the season here in 2023. Let's keep in mind that these are the 25 best teams in the country, not necessarily the teams that will finish with the best records. So I did not check out the records. I'm not making a record projection on these teams based on their schedules. Of course, the schedules in college football are all over the place. These are merely the top 25 teams in the nation based on ability, talent, and how good I believe they will be. On to our number 21 team in the Iowa Hawkeyes. Brian Ferentz, still the offensive coordinator. We're waiting on news there, but we shall see. Most likely he's going to stay the offensive coordinator, but he's got a new quarterback in Cade McNamara. Eric All at tight end. And McNamara, this is a situation where Iowa should just flat out be better because Cade McNamara is a ready-made quarterback. Is he great? Is he dynamic? No. But he's proven and he knows what he's doing. They would have to ruin him from a coaching standpoint. This is a quarterback they don't have to develop. He already knows. He already knows how to make the decisions, run an offense, lead a team down the field, lead a team in the locker room. His technique is still strong. this is a ready-made quarterback. They should automatically be better on offense. If they're not, then this is the indictment of all indictments against Brian Ferentz and the Iowa offensive system. The Hawkeyes do lose a ton on defense. Their defensive stars are gone. 8 back on offense. The Hawkeyes finished at 8-5 with a bowl win against Kentucky last season, our number 21 team. On to number 20, we go to Mississippi State. Zach Arnett, of course, with the untimely death of Mike Leach. May he rest in peace. Arnett, the defensive coordinator, takes over. He's got 1 win and 1 big game under his belt, winning the bowl game against Illinois. He ran some decent defenses at Mississippi State. Will Rogers is back and ready to set all sorts of records, as he could be a top 5 to 10 passer all time in college football with just a normal Will Rogers season. Mississippi State at number 20. Inside the top 20, we've got Kansas State at number 19. They've got Asa Newsome as a top recruit coming in at the athlete position. We'll see what they do with him if he's able to break in to get some meaningful playing time. Will Howard is back. Deuce Vaughn is gone. Big plus for Kansas State. Adrian Martinez has moved on, and again, Howard is going to throw the ball downfield and present a threat there, but Deuce Vaughn was a spectacular back, and they will miss him, especially a generational player at Kansas State. Our 18th ranked team is North Carolina. Drake May had a spectacular 2022, but down the stretch, he faltered. The offense faltered. The entire team, of course, collapsed when the offense can't come through. But they did play a strong bowl game against Oregon as a double-digit underdog. Almost pulled out the game, lost in the last 30 seconds, but go from 9-1 to 9-5 and blasted by Clemson in the ACC championship game. Clemson wasn't really necessarily playing good teams well down the stretch. I'm looking at Gene Chizik and his defense. He's got 4 and 5 stars. He's got plenty of talent. It should be better than it's been. It's been rough and soft and horrible. Improving down the stretch of 2022 to a certain extent, but North Carolina needs to be better. They need to replace their top 2 receivers as well. Chip Lindsey is the new offensive coordinator. They get Amari Gaynor from Florida State on defense to help out Gene Chizik there, although the secondary did take a big hit. Oregon State had a magical season in 2022 at 10-3 in a bowl romp of Florida. DJ Uiagalelei is the new starting quarterback. Yes, he is, from Clemson to Oregon State. This team was 11th in the Pac-12 in passing offense. That's about the only thing they didn't do well last season. But hey, when you can run the ball 20 consecutive times and beat your rival Oregon in comeback fashion down by 3 scores, hey, you don't need to throw the ball. But they're going to eventually, and again, it's on DJ's shoulders. Jonathan Smith may be the guy to coach him up into becoming a top-flight quarterback, or at least a decent quarterback. He was a 5-star, of course. On to number 16 in Ole Miss. 3 quarterback competition here. How does Lane Kiffin do it in regards to talent acquisition and sell these guys to come to Oxford? Spencer Sanders, Will Howard, Jackson Dart, who threw 11 interceptions last year, but he is the incumbent. Quinshawn Judkins showed that he was one of the best running backs in the nation, unheralded coming into college football from high school, ran for about 1,600 yards and 16 TDs because Zach Evans is gone for the Rebels, our number 16 team. Now on to the Clemson Tigers at number 15. This is an intriguing situation at Clemson. Look at their season last year. 9-0 in the ACC. They reclaim the title. They blow out North Carolina by 4 scores in the ACC championship game. But they lost to everyone meaningful. All the big non-conference games. South Carolina was a 1-pointer. The other 2, they got embarrassed. This is a big season for Dabo Swinney, and he knows it. So what did he do? After only 1 season, Brandon Streeter out as offensive coordinator. In comes Garrett Riley. So he goes for the gusto, goes for the big kill, and tries to revamp the offense and mold it around, of course, quarterback Cade Klubnik. DJ is gone. Cade Klubnik's offense, it's his team. He's got the entire offseason to grow and build his skills and his leadership abilities as well. The defensive line is generally gone, but Clemson usually fills that in quite well. Peter Woods is a stud recruit at the top of the class in 2023. Now on to our number 14 team in the defending Pac-12, 2-time Pac-12 champion, Utah. Cam Rising's back, but what is his spring practice going to look like and his rehab into the summer, as he was injured in the bowl game, and it's a pretty serious injury at this point. Utah's got big losses across the board, including Tavion Thomas, their leading rusher the last few years at running back, but the Utes stockpile talent And more so than that, a development program, of course, under Kyle Whittingham, our number 14 team in the land. At number 13, we've got Texas. Steve Sarkisian had a marginal second season, but much improved, over 5-7 in his first campaign. He's 13-12 in 2 years. Texas needs to get better quickly. The quarterback situation interesting because Quinn Ewers in that first half against Alabama looked like, wow, he's arrived. He is really that good. Well, the throwing talent, the arm talent is obvious, but he was far too inconsistent last year. This team really sputtered on offense at times, and they're losing their bell cow in Bijan Robinson and his backup, who's also an NFL guy, and Roschon Johnson. They pick up Cedric Baxter as one of the best running backs in the nation. They've got 4 offensive linemen coming back, and they bring in A.D. Mitchell to spark the offense as well. They had the 3rd best recruiting class in all of college football last year. Texas is number 13 and gunning for a Big 12 championship. At number 12, we've got a team without an offensive coordinator. Tommy Rees off to Tuscaloosa. All right, Notre Dame, what you got for us? James Laurinaitis has left as an analyst going to Ohio State. Marcus Freeman in year 1, it got off to a shaky start. They put a lot into the Ohio State game. They then lose to Marshall. They lose down the road to Stanford, but otherwise they look like a good football team. They finished off with a strong bowl win against South Carolina in an exciting game. Tyler Buckner's back at quarterback after winning the Gator Bowl MVP, but he's going to have to fight off one Sam Hartman, who you would expect to win the job. 13,000 passing yards, 110 touchdowns. Wow. Notre Dame's got some major losses on defense to deal with, including Brandon Joseph at safety, Isaiah Foskey, one of the best pass rushers in all of college football as well. At number 11, we go to Tennessee. Was it a splash season for Josh Heupel, or is he building a dynasty, a big-time winner at Tennessee? Well, they got to get past Georgia, but forget that. Just they've got so many offensive losses to deal with here. Hendon Hooker gone. He was remarkable his 2 starting seasons at Tennessee. Then you got Joe Milton, who came in. I never thought Joe Milton was going to develop into anything, but lo and behold, he played a strong game against Vandy and the bowl win against Clemson. So kudos to Joe Milton. The wide receivers torn apart, losing Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman. They do have a top flight 4 or 5-star wide receiver guy, Nathan Heacock, coming into the fold. Byron Young, their best defensive player, gone, and they lose a lot on defense, and they weren't very good on defense. But Tennessee still stockpiled with talent and getting better, and we trust Josh Heupel to a certain extent as the number 11 team in the country after coming off a top 5 finish in 2022. Now on to number 10, Washington. What a turnaround. Everybody focused on TCU and USC as the big turnaround stories, and of course Tulane from a record perspective. But man, Kalen DeBoer went from 4-8. He was at Fresno State when the Huskies were struggling with Jimmy Lake at 4-8. Then he goes 11-2 and defeats Texas in the bowl game. And some people think Washington might have been the best team in the Pac-12 last season. Michael Penix is back at quarterback. All he did was throw for 4,600 yards. They do lose their top tackler in Cam Bright. 7 back on offense, 7 back on defense, and the 29th rated recruiting class probably won't provide too much of a push here in 2023. Washington starts out our top 10 rankings here. We stay in the Pac-12 at number 9 with Oregon and another Uiagalelei. We've got Mateo as their number 1 recruit coming in. Bo Nix accounted for 44 touchdowns, and he's back. He's got Trayshawn Holden from Alabama to throw to. Their recruiting class was tremendous in the top 10 in the nation. The defense, though, lost its best players, including Noah Sewell, of course, and they were shoddy in the secondary. They've hit the transfer portal to try to fix those needs. Now we go to our chic pick, and it's everybody's chic pick right now. I'm not quite as high on Florida State as a lot of services are that have him in the top 5 in the country, but Florida State, wow, what a resurgence under Mike Norvell. 6 consecutive wins to close out 2022. Jordan Travis is back at quarterback, and there seems to be a good vibe, but a good thing happening at Florida State. They really hit the transfer portal, and they came out with some gems like Fentrell Cypress, one of the best corners in the nation out of Virginia, Darrell Jackson out of Miami for the defensive front, and of course, tight end Jaheim Bell. Hakeem Williams, stellar recruit, top of the class. He could make an impact at wide receiver And again, Jordan Travis leads it all, and he has only gotten better and better and better as a passer each and every year, and he is a true stud at quarterback and Heisman Trophy contender at Florida State. We move on to number 7, and Brian Kelly's got a season in. Many people were like, oh, Brian Kelly knows what he's doing. Comes from Notre Dame. He can clean up that situation at LSU and discipline this team. And other people were like, Brian Kelly is not going to win in the SEC. Well, he makes the SEC championship game. He gets blown out by 3 scores, as most teams would. Goes 10-4. I got to consider it a thumbs up for Brian Kelly overall, but there's still work to be done. Jaden Daniels back at quarterback, of course. All 5 offensive linemen, and they were really young last season, and they improved so much, and they're all back. Wide receiver Malik Neighbors is now the number 1 target, with Jayshawn Boutte going to the NFL. Neighbors had 72 catches last year. What about Mason Smith? He was hurt in the Florida State game. He is a stud. He's going to be back, hopefully healthy for the entire season, and you got the number 6 recruiting class in all of college football. We've got LSU at number 7. On to number 6 in Penn State, and 5-star guard Javen Williams would be their key addition. They had a great recruiting class. They lose record-setting quarterback Sean Clifford, but nobody seems to be worried about this. They've got a more talented replacement, of course, in Drew Aller. He can really spin it as the former 5-star. Their best players on both sides of the ball are basically coming off freshman and sophomore seasons, including their dynamic backfield, Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. We go to Penn State at number 6 in all of college football. On to number 5, and a team that is loaded on offense, still trying to find some answers on defense, and staying with defensive coordinator Alex Grinch to do so. Caleb Williams back at quarterback, of course, the Heisman Trophy winner, and yes, the best quarterback in college football in 2022. Add Dorian Singer, Arizona wide receiver. Of course, they lose Jordan Addison and others at wide receiver. They're loaded there. They're fine. Marshawn Lloyd replaces Travis Dye at running back. They get the incoming transfer from South Carolina there. Mason Cobb, a nice addition on the defensive side as they try to reinforce there. The edge rusher, Grayan Shelby, may make an impact. He's in the 2023 class. We've got USC at number 5. On to the top 4 in the elite of college football. We look at Columbus, Ohio, and the Buckeyes of Ohio State looking to replace, of course, C.J. Stroud at quarterback with either Kyle McCord or is it going to be Devin Brown? McCord looks to be the safe pick. He's played 1 game, though. But Buckeye fans, don't be too alarmed. Of course, your last 3 quarterbacks had no experience virtually before they got the starting job. The concern might be Jim Knowles' defense. Of course, it statistically was much better, much improved, but that was mostly against the inferior teams. They still have work to do. Who's going to call the plays on offense? Getting back to the offense, who's going to call the plays? Brian Hartline promoted to offensive coordinator, but Ryan Day still on the fence about who's going to execute on game day. The offensive line, they need tackles. They needed guards last year. They need tackles this year, and they have a lot of answers to fill. The recruiting class, of course, stellar in the top 5 in the nation, but the 3 of the top 5 players recruited and signed are wide receivers. They don't need wide receivers. That's fine. They're going to be explosive again for the next few seasons, but they had 2 cornerbacks that are coming in as 2 of their top 5 recruits. Those are the guys that they may need to fill a role this season for the Buckeyes. Ohio State's at number 4. Fellow rival, yes, Michigan. We go to number 3 in the nation. We got to rank Michigan ahead of Ohio State. Returning quarterback, Blake Corum's back. Change at offensive coordinator. Olu Oluwatimi, possibly the best center in the country, is gone. The defense mostly back. They did only have the 18th rated recruiting class, but that's not going to be largely needed in 2023. We've got Michigan as the number 3 team in the country. Now let's go to Nick Saban in Alabama at number 2. Okay, these are the 2 mammoth programs right now that are really rolling. Yes, Alabama missed the playoffs. They lost 2 games. They lost those games on the final play of the game. Yes, they looked down in other games, i.e. Texas A&M, but Jalen Milroe was in the game. Is he going to be the starting quarterback this year? It's probably going to be him or Ty Simpson. So there is a question mark at quarterback, certainly, especially since Milroe did not impress me in 5 quarters. But he's got a complete offseason to prepare himself, get ready, get coached up. Okay, They're new at offensive coordinator, of course, with Tommy Rees. They're new at defensive coordinator with Kevin Steele coming in from Miami. That could be a good thing. New life, new energy, new vibe into a program that the process is in place. The stability, the program is rock solid, but you bring in some energy and maybe some new ideas, some new concepts to a team that could use it to a certain extent. 9 5-stars recruited in 2023. Many of them will make a big impact this season. We've got Alabama as the number 2 team in all of college football. Now we move on to the number 1 team in college football. 2-time defending national champion, 15-0 last season. Kirby Smart has built a monster. The knock used to be not a prolific offense. Now they've got a prolific offense. At least when they need to be prolific, they are. They're explosive. They're dynamic. They're efficient when they need to be. They can run it down your throats. They can do anything they want. They got the best offensive player probably in college football in Brock Bowers. My goodness, this team is loaded. Okay, they do lose their quarterback and leader, Stetson Bennett. They do lose their best defensive player in Jalen Carter, but we know what happened on the defensive side last year when they replaced 5 first-round picks and 15 overall players to the NFL draft. All right, back to the offense and Stetson Bennett. Last I knew, he was in Dallas, but I definitely know that he's gone. And now they've got Carson Beck, who seems to be waiting in the wings, ready to take over. But he's got competition. Brock Vandegrift, Gunnar Stockton. They got. Isn't one of these guys going to transfer? They're all 5-stars, and they're not going to play. And they have stayed in the program. Credit them. But they're waiting probably for this one competition. Then on May 1st, when the transfer portal opens, we may see 1 or 2 leave possibly. We shall see. 2 big additions on offense right from the SEC. Ra Thomas, top 5 wide receiver in the conference from Mississippi State. He's a transfer portal addition, as well as Dominic Lovett, who's really dynamic at Missouri. Damon Wilson. We're going to highlight 1 recruit, but we could highlight 20 out of the number 2 class in the nation. Damon Wilson coming off the edge could be a factor once he develops. There's our top 25. That doesn't necessarily make sense because nobody's played a game, and it's all projection at this point. Keep in mind, more than half of the AP and Coaches Poll Top 25 didn't finish there. This is projection for sure. Your thoughts down below. Would love to hear from you. Got to hear from you and your thoughts. Leave your top 25 if you want. Check out the rest of the videos and catch us live. Give me a call. We will talk college football right here at the Voice of College Football.